Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Jack.
It's
It's
all right.
always nice to actually finally talk to someone like yourself who's a fellow YouTuber and property enthusiast.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. We've been trying to get this sorted for a bit of time, but thankfully
yeah.
Zoom
So,
works fine.
yeah, one day we'll have to do it face to face, which would be nice.
Yeah,
But,
definitely.
yeah, cracking straight on with it. My interest in you is that I know that you are doing flips, which isn't something that's advertised much on YouTube and so on at the moment. A lot of people are just into, buy to lets and investing, which is great. But yeah, I've been quite interested to learn about you. And so this flip that you've done or you're doing at the moment, can you give me the kind of high level numbers and what you project to sell it for and everything?
Yeah. I've said it a few times, but I think this is rough numbers. So it was bought for 120. I think all in fees and borrowing costs and all that, it will probably come to and stamp duty, although we didn't pay any on this, but everything included in terms of the acquisition costs will be about 130.
Yeah.
We factored in £15,000 for the refurb. Coming to the end of it, it looks like we may do it for about 10. So we've saved quite a lot of money on that.
Brilliant.
So all in, it's looking about 140. And houses, it's interesting. When we started the project, I was looking at the numbers, and it looked like if we were going to do it up and sell it, and this was before lockdown and COVID and all of that. I looked at the numbers, and it looked like it would sell for about 165.
Yeah.
Now houses, it looks like it'll sell for about 180.
Oh, nice.
Which, yeah, if we can get that for it, then
Yeah.
amazing. That's a £40,000 profit. Oh
Brilliant.
no, sorry, 50. Yeah, £40,000 profit.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That'd be
it's
nice.
pretty. Yeah.
I don't know if
Hopefully,
you've ever watched the Property Ladder with Sarah Beanie, but
no.
you should watch it. It's like
Yeah,
the old school series on, and it's brilliant though because they're
yeah,
like really amateur investors that have, not even like you or I who have learned much about it. They just
yeah,
saw that property was a good thing and decided to buy one and they do a refurb. So it's great because, well, it's funny because all of them, they always absolutely blow their budgets like you wouldn't know. So to
yeah,
hear
yeah,
hear the fact that you've, perhaps undercut your refurb budget, is
yeah,
brilliant, and
yeah,
only because that's the thing when it comes to flips in particular, you make your money on when you actually buy the deal. If you get it for the right price, you
yeah,
obviously make your money by getting your refurb costs bang on, or, and hoping not to go over. And then obviously you make it on the sale price as well. So you've kind of
yeah.
hit all three quite well there by the sounds of it. To make 40k on a first flip would be amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're definitely right. The profit is in the purchase. That's 100% true. If you can get it at a discount, and then as long as you keep your costs or what you're projecting them to be, you will make the profit. So yeah, definitely agree with that. And then when it comes to the refurb, it was probably because I've been able to make use of my mentor's build team. So I've been able to, as long as we source everything, they will come and do the work. So yeah, it's been so invaluable. It's been such a good experience and learned a lot from it. So
Amazing. And so obviously you mentioned going back a step to the kind of building up a process and
yeah.
making these flips more like a business in the process. What's that look like in 5 years time, 10 years time? Have you got a long-term plan and goal in terms of your investing and what you're doing?
Yeah. So for me, this sounds very high level, but I'm very futuristic, and so I dream, and I dream big. But the way that I see it working is, if everything was perfect, everything went according to plan, I would, as I say, get to know how to flip like the back of my hand, so that I know exactly what the process is for finding a good deal, stacking the numbers, doing the project, and selling it at the end, making sure I absolutely know the ins and outs of it.
Yeah.
then start to bring in more people to manage the flips, to find the deals, that kind of thing. So eventually I can then take myself out of that process there. So the flips will always be going on and taking place. And then hopefully the dream is that it then starts to expand into developments. I think what I was talking about before with the don't kill the cow, part of it is that I want to build up as big a pot of cash as possible so that I can do as many different deals as I'd like to. So really that the hope is that I can start doing developments, and obviously with there being a lot more profit in those than, you know, a single residential property flip, then that will build that pot up quicker to then do more and more deals at any one time.
But you like the idea of doing developments like new builds in the future,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. I'd like to. I'm looking into it at the minute. I don't know whether that's because I really genuinely want to jump into one right now, or if it's just because I just want to learn. But at the minute, I'm looking a lot into the build process, how to find land, what's a good deal, and just learning almost like going back to the basics of learning property development. Almost just seems like a completely different beast. And so I feel like just learning from scratch, learning all the basics. I'm spending a lot of time doing that at the minute, and hopefully a couple of different deals have come across my desk, as you might say, that I'm interested in. But yeah, I really want to make sure, because it's a lot of money we're talking about, so I want to make sure that I really know my stuff before jumping in.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, and you're right though, like, you know, developing it's so different, you know, and it's quite often I perceive it as perhaps a little bit more risk because of course you're reliant on the end goal, which is selling it. But there's nothing wrong with that. You know, as I've sort of mentioned, I would like to do, you know, continue building up my buy to lets, but I'd also like to do, you know, one or two small flips or developments on the side per year. And because I think it's a great way to continue building up that pot of money to then reinvest, you know, in the I quadrant, I guess you could say. So
yeah, definitely. I think just on that, it's interesting that you say it, because I'm definitely in the same position as you, in that I see development as more risky. But again, just mentioning my mentor again, I asked him the other day, have you ever lost money on a development? And he said, no, never. Like he's not made as much profit as he'd like, but because the profit margins in them are so big that if you lose 100 grand profit, you still haven't lost money. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I can't get my head around that, because I think maybe it's because of the amount of money involved in them that I kind of see it as more risky. But I don't know. I think as long as you know what you're doing, I think and
that might just be the way I perceive it. You know, I'm not saying that it necessarily is. Someone might look at me and say, well, you know, the idea of having 10 buy-to-lets in the future is risky because you've continuously got mortgages sat there, you know. It's all depends how you perceive it and what you want, what your goals are and that. But I guess what I'd love to ask, or wanted to ask, been intrigued to know, is when you've, you know, built up, you know, obviously a good pot of money and you're going into developments and you're, you know, you've really systemized your business, will you then do, you know, buy and hold more, you know, and look to buy a portfolio of properties and so on?
Yeah. So another benefit to me flipping at this stage and not buying and holding is I also rent where I live. So the initial attraction to me is that if I can buy a house, do it up and sell it, then I'm saving. Every time I buy a new house, it will be the only house that I own, and therefore I'm saving on stamp duty, which on a flip, if you're saving 3% of the purchase price, then you could, on a flip, if I owned where I lived, or if I bought a buy-to-let and held it, if I buy a house then and flip it, because I'm paying the extra stamp duty, that's like an extra 5, 6, 7, 8,000 pounds of profit that I'll be losing out on. And so for me, in my head, I just thought, well, if I'm going to make 20 grand profit on a flip, I don't then want to be losing 6 grand of that purely just because I own another house. So the early stages for me, I'm not looking at buying and holding yet, but long term, that's definitely the goal. I mean, it's similar to you in that my goal long term is that I have this constantly churning away passive income of a portfolio of buy-to-lets that will be bringing in money every month. Right now, that's not my instant, like what I need to do. For me, it's more important to build up that pot of cash. And also as well, like something I worked this out the other day. If you buy a house and you make 25,000-26,000 pound profit on it or whatever, and then take away the capital gains and all the fees and everything, say you walk away with 20 grand solid profit.
Yeah.
The average buy to let, you'd make about 250 to 300 pound a month profit. And so even if I was to do a buy, refurb, refinance and only and didn't sell it, and I held that and kept the profit, it would take, I think, 7 to 8 years of rental profit to make that 20 grand back.
Yeah.
So you lose out on the capital appreciation, which is one side of it, but also initially, especially because I want to start building up that pot, it's not worth it for me to hold that because it would take too long to get. For me at the minute, it's more about getting that instant cash and building that up to do a lot at any one time.
Yeah, no, I saw that point in your recent video actually, and it was something. It was like an angle that I hadn't considered it for, from before. So it's quite an interesting one. I think people don't perhaps consider that enough. Whereas you are, what do you reckon your turnaround time will be for your current flip from buying it to refurbing and selling it?
Yeah, so someone actually pulled me up on this the other day on my YouTube, in the YouTube comments on one of my videos, because when I did my first video about it, I said, so in a couple of weeks we should be able to get this done and on the market. Like 2 months later, this guy comments going, I thought he said it was going to take 2 weeks. So turn around, it looks like it will probably be, when did I get it? I can't remember when I completed it. I think the full thing will probably be about 3 months. Okay. From got the keys to back on the market. And that's just because at the minute, because of COVID, there's been a lot of setbacks, which I hadn't anticipated. And especially because it's the first time I've done this. I hadn't anticipated that. So there's been things like, for example, there's been a massive shortage of plaster. And so we had a plasterer booked, and then the day he was meant to come in, we were supplying the plaster. We didn't have any. And so then he went to go to another job. I then went to get plaster, brought plaster to the house, but then had no one to do it. Yeah. And any decent plasterer is going to be booked up for weeks. So we had to wait until he had a free slot to come in and plaster, which obviously is going to delay things like putting the kitchen and bathroom in, painting, all that stuff. So it put quite a few things on hold. So it's probably going to be about 3 months turnaround. Hopefully, with having learned from the experience and also not having being in lockdown or having a shortage of plaster, hopefully the next one will be much quicker. But who knows?
But that, I mean, my exact point is, though, you have experienced some setbacks, but if you think that this is your first flip, you've turned it around in 3 months in what's considered one of probably the most difficult years to turn around some projects, because of what's been going on, and you've hopefully coming under budget, and you should look to make £40,000. I mean, it's incredible, really. And when you compare that to what you were saying, as I say, I like to buy and hold, but then when you compare the fact that within an overall period of time of maybe 6 or 7 months, when you take in all of the conveyancing to buy it and then sell it to make £40,000, I think that it's definitely a strategy that's missed and people perhaps don't utilize as often as they should.
Definitely. I definitely agree. Coming back to it, it's really interesting how little people talk about flips. because I can find information about lease option agreements or buy to lets or buy refurb refinance or
Yeah.
any of these strategies, the large number of strategies. Talking about flips though, specifically, there's not a whole lot out there on YouTube and things like that. So that's why I thought I wanted to start to do videos, because there's not much out there on the subject.
Yeah, no, and that's why I watch. I enjoy learning about it. I know I want to do flips, and I've got a friend who does flips up in Scotland called
Oh, nice.
Bryce, and he's done two, and he's done them all with his bare hands, which I think going forwards he's going to outsource more. But
Yeah, yeah,
but he's done incredibly well, and you
yeah,
know, I've always thought that if had he shared that experience, I mean, he quite likes to get his head into it and just do the work, and he's brilliant
yeah,
at
yeah,
it. But had he shared
yeah,
that, it'd been so useful, because there's no videos out there like that. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I think
definitely.
flips are an underrated strategy, and aren't talked about on the courses, because in my opinion, it might be because it's hard to sell someone the dream of doing a flip when they need to pay for a course, and then they've got to pay for a deposit, and then they've got to pay for the refurb, and so on. So
Yeah, it's easier to say we'll teach you how to make money using no money.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it's true. It's true.
But going on to your YouTube channel, so
Hmm.
what are the plans with that? You just really want to document it and want to help other people, or
Yeah, yeah. I suppose I I had a YouTube channel. If you look on my YouTube channel on the about bit, it says it was set up in 2013, and I started making videos back then, and realized the videos I was doing were so random, so pointless, and it was just a waste of time. But I really enjoy filming. I really enjoy the editing process. I love the creativity around it. But I just had no subject to do it on. And then as soon as I started looking into property, I thought, actually, one, it's something that I'll really enjoy doing, because I enjoy the process of creating content and creating videos. I like the cinematic like shots and all that stuff. So for me, that's it's almost like a hobby that I want to continue to do. But also, like you say, I want to document my journey. I think we were talking about this just before we hit record, I think. But I think there's a lot of property people on YouTube, but it's all very much here's 5 tips to do this, and this is how you do this, and it's great. But I enjoy seeing it happen. I enjoy it
yeah,
watching people
yeah,
who document, don't just teach or speak.
yeah,
I mean, there's only so much I can document, but it's something that I really want to do, especially as things start to pick up and I start to do more projects, and more flips and that kind of thing, and start to network with more people and go out and see their projects, that kind of thing. It's something that I want to document, because I don't think there's enough authenticity around the realities of investing in property. There's a lot of, you can make money quick, you can make money fast, just follow these 3 steps and you'll make a lot of money. But I'd rather just kind of show and show people how I'm doing it, how I'm finding it, and just generally documenting and educating.
yeah. I'm a big believer in what you're doing, and I like the channel,
Thank you.
and yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Where you touched on there, where some of the other channels that perhaps they're just there's too much time just spent sitting and talking to a camera about theory. And if you think that, and I'm not naming any names, but if some of them who earn quite a reasonable amount of money from courses and so on, I'm not saying anything wrong or right, whatever they want to do, but if they
Mhm.
actually took the time to pump that money back into property, I don't think they understand how valuable that content would be.
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
Rather than
yeah,
just trying to continue selling courses, actually, recycle that money into property, document that. I mean, that in itself would be such valuable content.
yeah. I don't think it's a coincidence. I was looking at your channel and also just reviewing my own channel. It's not a coincidence that the biggest hitters, in terms of most amount of views on them, are the ones where we show what we're doing.
Yeah,
And actually, like the videos of me going around the project that I've got going on at the minute, they've got 10 times more views than the rest, because people, I think, really want to see. They don't just want to hear; they want to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think there's something really authentic about that it's just, this is the realities of it. Let me show you what I'm doing. And yeah, I don't think there's a coincidence that
No, I
they're
think
the
you're
ones
absolutely
that get the
right.
most views.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So, yeah. So for anyone that's watching, check out what Jack's doing. He sort of, you go into more detail about your flip project, and I think there's at least a couple of videos that I've watched where you show people
Yeah,
around and talk through what you're doing, which I really enjoyed watching. And for me,
thank you.
I've done work to my own property here to add value, and I'm going to be doing work to an upcoming project. One thing that I know I'm, not very experienced on, I'm sure a lot of people watching on, and that is kind of working with tradespeople. I know you've got a build team that's come through your mentor, and which is brilliant.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when it comes to working with, the tradespeople and setting up your flip, how does it work? Do you have a set out agreement on what you're going to buy and supply for them, and what they're going to bring to the table? How does that work?
Yeah, so quite often with and this is regardless of whether you're doing a flip or you're doing buy, refurb, refinance or anything like that, you save so much money by supplying things yourself. And if you can get the right tradespeople in to do what they're trained to do, but if you can supply the equipment, then it's definitely much better. When I say equipment, I mean things like supply, like I said before, supplying the plaster for the plasterer, supplying. So I had to do a quick run the other day because we needed to. It's just like little things. So we forgot to fit kind of light fittings and light switches, that kind of thing. So I had to quickly run over to Screwfix, and it's better for me to go and buy that stuff and drop it off at the house for the electrician to then go and fit, because otherwise he'll charge 40-50 quid to just go and buy, just for his time to just go and buy the stuff. So if you can supply everything, then it makes it a lot cheaper. And you suppose, similar to kind of following on from what we were saying, in that our build costs have come down dramatically from 15,000 to 10,000. That probably wouldn't have happened if we didn't supply everything for the builders.
And
but in terms, go on.
I was going to say, does that 10K, does that include like, obviously includes like kitchen, bathroom, everything like that? And how do you kind of did you source all of them and then you provide it to the fitters and that?
Yeah. So basically what we do, and this is something that I've been coached through by Nick, the guy who's mentoring me at the minute.
Yeah.
That essentially just shop around for a bit, find the best deals, find what's cheap at the minute, and then essentially get it delivered to the house. So for example, another thing, I had to nip quickly across to a shop and pick up some paint. We run out of paint, so I went and did that. And I just go and drop it off in the house. There's nobody in there. I just go in, drop it off, and I know that as soon as one of the guys can come in, they'll come in and start painting. So it's shopping around really. It's like I was surprised. A lot of people say you need to sign up to these like trade accounts, and not trade accounts. They're
like the membership.
Basically, like membership things where you sign up to get really cheap discounts. But another thing that I've learned in this process is that if you shop around, you'll be able to find the same prices, but you save money on paying on a membership. So like a B&Q kitchen, I thought was going to cost loads, and it ended up not costing all that much. So it's that kind of thing that if you're willing to put the time in to shop around, find the deals, see if any shops, any places have discounts on, and get it from there.
It's all good experience, isn't it? Learning the prices of things, the cost of having it fitted, and you'll take all of that, what you've learned from this one, into your next project, and you'll make that even more efficient, and so on.
Definitely.
So, and one thing we haven't even covered, even though we talked about the project, whereabouts do you operate? Where is the flip that you have? And
so I'm personally based in Birmingham, West Birmingham.
Yeah.
The house itself is in it's kind of southwest Birmingham, so really near to me. this is something that, again, I was told on a few other courses. It doesn't matter where you buy because you get a builder to manage the whole thing and you don't need to worry about it. But for me, one of the things of keeping the costs low was not having a builder, and therefore that meant that I had to be not hands-on but present. I had to be
Yeah.
around. I needed to know what was happening, and and checking it. Like, for example, those electrical fittings, the paint. If I need to just quickly nip over and get something,
Yeah.
it's very hard to do that if I'm 2 hours from the project. So I'm only about a 20-minute drive from the house.
Oh,
So yeah,
nice. Yeah.
it's kind of southwest Birmingham.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Good. Yeah, that's one thing I've
Yeah.
always worried about with future projects in Liverpool, you know, is
Mhm.
trying to manage a build team from 5 hours away. And I guess I'll set
Yeah.
myself up there really. But that's
Other people do it though, don't they? Like I do
yeah,
know
yeah.
people that do. I know someone who does a lot of deal sourcing, deal packaging, and they will do it all across the country, and
Yeah.
they will send a builder to go and to manage the whole thing. I think it's just about how well and how much time you put into vetting good quality builders.
Yes.
Because if you can find the right people, then they can almost not manage themselves, but you can give them clear direction from a distance,
Yeah. Yeah.
from what I've heard anyway.
And if you, I think as well, I think it's probably from my point of view, what I'm finding is it's quite useful to build a network of people in that area as well. So that should I obviously wouldn't want to have to do that, but should I be able to, you know, need to call upon them or someone just to help me out, I might be able to pay for their time or ask a favor of them. So
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah,
so yeah, but no, certainly with regards to any flips that I'll be doing in the future, we're keeping them down south and within,
yeah,
well, if not living in it, within a very close distance, because
yeah, yeah,
I think it's sensible when you're doing something that needs so much work for an intense short period of time for it to be nearby, doesn't it? So,
yeah.
so
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. And to just make sure that people are keeping on track. I've heard horror stories of people who have asked tradesmen to go in and do a job, and it either just doesn't get done, the tradesperson just disappears for a month, or
yeah,
even like tools and stuff getting stolen. Like it happens. So to be miles and miles away from the deal, I personally wouldn't want to take the risk just yet at this
yeah,
point in time in
yeah, yeah.
my kind of journey of doing flips.
Cool. So, and just quickly, just to round off, I mean, like we did in my video over on your channel, is there, if there's one thing that you could, you know, share with people that are brand new to property, whether it's flips or anything in general, but obviously anything that's flip related would be useful. But if there's one thing or two things that you want to share, is there anything in particular that comes to mind?
I suppose for people who wanted to get started in it, I would. So there's probably a couple of things. The first one is similar to what you said on the video that we did over on my channel, is that when you start looking into property investing and making money through property, however that looks, the number of different strategies out there are endless, and every strategy from a different person's perspective, or even from your perspective at a different point in time, might be really attractive.
Yeah,
But I think you've just got to, what you need to do is figure out, okay, where do I want to be in 10, 20 years time, and work your way back. And then whatever you think, okay, then that means that I need to go with this strategy, do it and just stick with it. The discipline to commit is probably one of the hardest things. It's definitely something that I really struggle with. I mean, like I said, I've been learning about stuff for about 18 months now.
yeah,
And only just done my first deal. And that's because it actually just took me ages to just set down, okay, this is exactly my strategy. This is my plan. And this is what I'm going to do moving forward. So just being really committed and clear on what strategy you're going to do. And then the other thing is it's around touchy subject. It's about training and mentoring. We live in an information age where you can find out so much information on the internet. It's like unbelievable. So before jumping into spending money on information, have a look on the internet, because you'll probably most likely find it. However, what I would encourage is, if you are similar to me, I knew it was what I wanted to do. I understood the concepts of how to get there, but I needed somebody to coach me through it and mentor me through it, then I definitely recommend it. However, find somebody who will hold your hand through the process, who is maybe even in your area, who has the experience and is very trustworthy. I basically just be careful with
Yeah.
paying for education
Yeah.
over just actual experience.
But I love that. I love that last point on the mentor as well, because I think what's important with a mentor, if they can actually hold your hand through, where I think
Yeah,
on a mentorship basis, they're more likely to do that rather than a one-off paid course. I don't know for definite,
yeah,
but
yeah,
because I've
yeah,
never done either, in all honesty. But
yeah,
the other thing is that I think I'm right in believing that your mentor has done what you're looking to do, and he's done
yeah,
lots of flips, and
yeah,
he quite clearly has done that and
yeah,
can walk you through that, and he's still
yeah,
doing it, I think. So,
yeah,
that's quite
yeah. No, yeah, not to keep on like dissing training programs or anything like that, but just because it is something that I've gone through, it's something that I care a lot about and don't want people to fall into the trap of. Um, there's a lot of trainers who will say, they'll promise the world, and I've had experience of paying people a lot of money, who then I see once in a 12-month period, like the whole time I only see them once, and that's in a room of 30, 40 people. So it's not mentoring. So if you are going to find, I do think education is really important, and I actually would say it's very, very valuable, but choose the right person. Choose somebody who's done it. The great thing about Nick, who I'm really privileged to be able to work with, is I could text him now and say, "I really want to have a look around the bungalows that you're building at the minute," and he'll just pop over to the bungalows and we can just chat, and I can learn through that. And it's that kind of thing that you should be looking for, not
yeah.
just a kind of a training course or a weekend course or something like that. I just think if you're going to do that, you'd be better off putting your money into an actual deal and learning from the experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like what you just said, because I'm quite a hands-on and visual person. So
Yeah,
to be able to go down to someone's project, I mean, that would definitely entice me to working with someone, because that
yeah,
I'm sure that really helps with education and that. So
yeah, definitely it does.
good. All right, Jack. Well, this has been really good having you on, and really appreciate your time. Been an interesting one. So thanks, mate.
Yeah, it's been good. Thank you for having me on.